So today we want to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Jason?
it is. Yeah.
So I did a little homework prior to getting here, and by a stroke of the pen with President Joe Biden, he signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act August 16th of 2022, which is the 45th anniversary of Elvis Presley's death. So I remember that day well.
Elvis.
Yes. So then from there was on whitehouse.gov, you click a little hyperlink, and there was a 184-page booklet on the Inflation Reduction Act. And nowhere in there did it say Medicare. It was all how to save America from greenhouse gases, how we can have a cleaner climate, and it's all part of the Inflation Reduction Act. But somehow, here we are in 2024, and we think there's going to be a major disruption in Medicare drug prices and drug plans. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, concerning Medicare. Yeah.
What are some of the disruptions?
Well, some of it's speculation, but some of it really makes a lot of sense. So one of the things that's good, so if you're on a Medicare drug program, and let's just say a standalone Medicare drug program, not one that's an Advantage plan, but in both of those models, you're only going to be allowed to spend $2,000 a year when you go to buy the medications. So that's the good news. So the cost of medications likely to go down for somebody on Medicare.
The cost of the medication.
The cost of the medications, right. So who's going to pay the inflation of the Inflation Reduction Act? That's the big question. So the insurance companies now have to insure almost double the risk of what they were insuring this year. So if you're an insurance company and you're providing a Medicare drug program, whether it's through an Advantage plan or just a standalone Part D, there's only a couple of places that you're going to take it on the chin and be able to stay in business. One of those areas is, I believe, will be what you're paying a premium. So I asked a big insurance company, and I called my buddy, and I said, hey, so what are you guys going to do when you have to insure almost double of what you're currently insuring? He goes, oh, I can't tell you much, brother. We had to sign non-disclosure agreements. I'm like, for real? Yeah, they had to sign NDAs to not disclose any earlier than normal.
Is that not normal?
That's not normal, to sign an NDA. So the insurance companies are kind of scratching their head going, well, how are we supposed to take on this extra burden of cost? And so one of the recourses will be, well, they're just going to jack up the cost of the Medicare Part D program. So what you're going to pay in a premium is probably going to be a lot more. And if they don't mess with it there, the only other place they can mess with it is what drugs they cover. So those formulary lists, the list of drugs that the insurance companies cover, is probably going to be reduced to certain drugs. So that really brings us into like the annual notice of change.
Well, so that brings up another point. When I looked up the annual notice of change just on one of the companies, I believe it was 27, 28 pages. It didn't need to be, but it was.
But what is an annual notice of change? I don't think this audience knows.
All right. Well, an annual notice of change is every year prior to or really close to October 1, it's going to say your plan has either left the market, and we've given you a different one that we still have. Here are the different costs of the premiums and the tiers, but in that 27-page document, it does not know what drugs you take and what percentage you're going to have to pay of the total cost. That's not in there. There's only a couple ways you can get that information.
Isn't it a shame that that information on your annual notice of change isn't disclosed to them? Because most people don't even read them. And if you don't read your annual notice of change this year, you're crazy. There's something wrong with you. It normally comes the second week of September, and that's your insurance company sends you a letter, and it says ANOC, Annual Notice of Change. You'll open it up, and the first page will say things are changing, and then you'll go to typically a second page, and that second page will say this is what your plan costs in 2024, and here's your drug tiering systems, and here's your deductible, and here's what it'll be in 2025. And so what it doesn't tell you is if your drugs got dropped from that program. What it doesn't tell you is what you used to pay a tier 2 copay could be a tier 3 or 4. It doesn't tell you that, and it should. But the good news is if you're on a standalone drug program, meaning maybe you have a Medicare supplement or maybe it's just a drug program, that the insurance companies are telling us they're looking at like triple-digit increases. That will be so that'll be shocking. The premium will be shocking, but what about Advantage plans? What will they do there?
Well, they're going to be doing some of the same kind of things. They won't, in my opinion, they won't mess with the premium on the Medicare Advantage plans. Most of them still have a 0 premium because that's a shiny object that attracts the consumer. They say, oh, good, still no premium. That doesn't mean it's not going to be no cost.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're still going to have some different parts of the Medicare drug part, the cost of the Part D. In my opinion, they're also going to be removing some of the ancillary products that you see on all the commercials during October, November. Your dental, your vision, your hearing, your groceries, your over-the-counter. I think some of those will be tinkered with. But probably the maximum amount of pocket that used to be here is going to be here because they got to figure out how to get that money from you to stay in the marketplace. That hospital copay that used to be $350 a day probably will go up. Probably the number of days will go up. Now, if that happens, we do have some answers to try to help absorb some of those costs with some of the other products that we offer to help pay for those, the big hits. X-rays will go up probably.
So some of those co-pays, like vision and dental, they may reduce how much they're covering. Some people may drop their gym memberships or whatever. But those things are also not on an annual notice of change. There is only one way to analyze your plan. You get from October the 15th through December the 7th every year for a reason. There's a reason for that. And this reason for this year in 2025, biggest reason ever. The Kaiser Family Foundation says a normal annual enrollment period, October the 15th through December 7th, about 11% of the country changes plans. It's going to be so disruptive this year, they're predicting 44%. That's a 4x gain. That's 4 times the amount of people will change.
Right. That's absurd.
Right.
But I think it will happen.
Oh, yeah. So why are they saying that's going to happen? Because they understand the impact. That's why the insurance companies are saying things like, yeah, we're just going to eliminate some plans. We're going to migrate people to ones they didn't agree to be on. And in other cases, we're just going to raise premiums and reduce benefits in other areas. So your annual notice of change is more important in 2025 than it's ever been. You will get that the second week of September. There's only one way to analyze it, though. You literally need software. You've got to plug in a profile of doctors and a profile of medications to really get the view and understand what your plan is doing. And most of my book of business doesn't even take me up on that. I'm going to do more than I did last year. I'm going to do my normal email campaigns and try and let them know to take this opportunity. But last year, only 2 out of 10 even responded. Which, as an insurance agent, when we get paid, when we have a book of business, and those people choose not to do the review, that's the easiest commission we ever earned. The people that make me do the review, and I offer it to them, are the wise ones. And a lot of times they are changing plans. I don't make any extra money on that. Nothing. It is completely revenue neutral. So thank you to the 80% that ignore that. I hope my book does not do that this year.
Right. And if you do your job and do the annual review and let the individuals or the couples know, hey, this is a recommendation, you don't insure all their friends currently. They could tell their friends, hey, I do have a broker. I do have an agent that does have the software, does have the knowledge, and it won't be time consuming, but it'll be worth your time if you let Connor or Jason or someone from the Medicare Resource Center do that review.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, we're not allowed to charge for that. We do it completely for free. And you look at the same screens we look at, and you look at multiple carriers. Big difference between a Medicare insurance agent and a broker. You know, if you don't have a broker that's brokering at least 5 carriers, you might want to look for a new insurance agent. You know, that's an important factor. Like, how many insurance companies do you sell?
Right. We learned years ago not to fall in love with an insurance company.
Yeah.
Fall in love with the client.
Yeah.
Let's try to make sure that based on our recommendations, the insurance company is going to take care of their needs for that year.
I agree. Yeah, that is the method. But back to the Inflation Reduction Act.
Okay.
Because there's one thing I know for sure. So there's scenarios. They're going to probably raise prices on drug programs, on Advantage programs that have an embedded Part D benefit. They're going to mess with, like you said, the co-pays, the maximums, the gym memberships, you know, the vision, the dental, and all that. But the one thing I am absolutely certain the insurance companies aren't going to do is give you the same plan they gave you this year. There's no way. Because, you know, they got to pay. Part of reducing inflation is they got to pay us more money now to sell Medicare plans. So wait a minute. That was more of the CMS final rule. But so for those of you who don't know, you know, we're insurance brokers and we get paid a commission to help people. If you are our current client, we don't make any, you know, we just get a per month per member and we don't make any money on plan changes. But if you're somebody we've not met before, the insurance companies is going to give us an extra $100 an application. And now we can't get help for marketing from our upline and whatnot. So, but the insurance companies themselves now have to pay us more money, and they're taking a pay cut from Medicare at the same time and now insuring twice the amount of medication coverage they did before. So the one thing I'm certain of is they're not going to do nothing.
Yeah, there will be change.
There will be change. So, but hey, we'll get a great deal on drugs when we go to the pharmacy.
Well, maybe, because part of the Inflation Reduction Act
I know where you're going.
is if you are at the pharmacy, and because of the wonderful changes that have been made, if your bill is $600 or more for the meds, one or more, the computer will pop up to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist, by law, because it's already written, has to give you a form that says, here is how you have an opportunity to set up a payment plan, not for your premium, but a payment plan for the cost of your meds through that insurance company. And you have to do it yourself. It's not automatically. So if you enroll in this payment plan for just the cost of the meds, you're responsible to pay that back they take the cost and they divide it by 12. Now you might along the way change plans if you can find one of the 50-ish special election periods that change plans. So you might have a different company involved for the remainder of the year. It could get kind of confusing.
I'm already losing the will to live, but but what triggers that? So like so I go to the pharmacy and I'm like, oh wow, the donut hole gone, yay! The most I can spend is $2,000. So I go to the pharmacy and let's say I'm taking a drug, it's $1,000 retail, and there's a ton of them. I've seen little tubes of cream that, no kidding, were $7,000, and the cream was nothing.
Right.
But one of those drugs. So what triggers it? So maybe you're in a deductible phase or whatever. What triggers that the payment plan starts to get executed?
If that pharmacist says you owe me $600 or more right now, that triggers it. The threshold is $600.
So then I've got a decision. I can pay the $600, or I can fill out a form that says I can go on a payment plan forever. Well, for 12 months.
Right.
Okay, but what if in the middle of the year I need to change plans? But like a move. Like let's say, so I moved from Texas to, let's say, Indiana. And now I got to go get a different insurance company. And this other insurance company I'm on a payment plan with, what prevents me from setting up the same payment plan on a new drug, a new prescription drug plan?
Someone's going to be keeping really good records of all that, Jason.
Who?
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a reason 44% of the people are going to make changes, because there is disruption
Yeah.
coming for 2025. And we want to try to get ahead of this with you. We don't want to wait until October 1st. Our existing book of business and anybody that you want to refer to us, we want to get this information well before October 1, August.
Yeah, that's when I'm doing it. So normally at about the second week of September, I normally send out an email that goes to my entire book of business with a link that says, hey, book with me. I can't do that this year with this disruption. I'm going to send out similar things, and I'm going to begin that in August. So for my personal book of business, which, 300 to 400 clients, there's just not enough time. And the annual enrollment period is 54 days. So long before that 54 days gets there, I'm talking August is when I'm doing it. And I'm going to make multiple attempts in August. And then the first 3 weeks of September, and after that, I'm going to quit asking my book. And I'm going to close it off. And just because that'll be enough people that I can do those reviews from October the 1st through the 15th. I could tell you about 2025, but I can't do nothing about it. We'll just know that you probably need to change.
Yes.
Can't make that change till the 15th.
Yeah, but if we have all that information while we're not crazy busy, it'll help everybody when we get to October that we already have all the information.
Yeah.
We've got the system. We've got the CRM. We've got the program in place that on October 1, we hit a button and it says, based on your zip code, your county, and what plan we're looking at, here's what's available. Here's the overall total cost.
Right. So what about, so there's a number of agents I've met over the last 20 years. They don't use a CRM. They do paper apps. They don't have a quoting and enrollment system, and yet they still have, like a small town broker. They get good referrals. They do good by people. But with this kind of disruption, I don't know what those folks are going to do.
They're going to think that I'm going to do nothing again, like I've done every year.
Yeah.
And they're going to get smacked in the face.
Yeah.
January, first time they go to the pharmacy in January.
Yeah, but so the people that are just on drug programs, not Advantage plans, that enrollment period's done December 7th.
Yep.
Like come January, when you realize if you didn't pay attention to your annual notice of change, it'll already be too late. You literally are stuck there. At least the people in Advantage plans get an extra 3 months.
Yeah. You need to pay attention this year.
Yeah,
2025,
yeah.
you need to pay attention.
Yeah.
You need to have someone that is knowledgeable to help you navigate your options.
You know who this is really good for as far as a broker? So if like a new Medicare insurance agent, one that doesn't have a book of business to manage, and maybe they got a few sales under their belt and they're ready for this annual enrollment, like a first-year agent.
Yeah.
They're absolutely going to wipe the floor, because all of those folks that can't get a hold of their agent and they're going to see that annual notice of change, or they don't know, or maybe they enrolled over the phone or on Joe Namath and did some stupid thing like that. Those folks are going to have to find probably somebody local. So those newer agents that aren't managing a big book, man, are they going to have fun this annual enrollment period, helping people? And make sure, and I'm talking to you folks out there, when you go to choose a Medicare insurance broker, let me tell you this. If that broker doesn't have a website, if that broker doesn't have some sort of social media presence that they've recently been updating stuff, and if they don't have quoting and enrollment software or a brick and mortar, and they're not local, you do that at your own peril. Find somebody local with an office that has a website. That's going to keep you safe and away from the creeps out there. Don't do this over the phone. Doesn't make sense. I digress.
Yeah, that was very important. And we've got a pretty good handful of young, new, aggressive agents that are coming on board too. So
they're aggressive?
They work.
I don't want them to be aggressive.
I didn't say abrasive, aggressive.
Yeah, I said aggressive.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being an aggressive agent. I want to be proactive. I want to help us make these decisions. You don't want someone that's just passive and doing nothing.
Huh.
But I guess we could look up the definition of aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to be aggressive. I literally, when I do it, I'm just the nice guy that says, hey, I'm going to point at screens, and you're going to watch me enter all this stuff. We're going to do it together, and we're going to discover this thing together, and all of us are smart human beings. And I normally put up 3 options, and I go, I explain the benefits and the differences between the 3 and let them choose. And if they say, yeah, we're going to think about it, I normally go, okay.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we have some young, talented agents
No, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. It was just
that would be more than happy to help you and help them build that book of business
yeah.
together.
Yeah, and there is something to be said. I mean, some people say, well, a new Medicare pro, they just don't have the experience. And I agree with that because, there's no replacement for experience. But I've been training Medicare pros for over 20 years, and I've seen 1 or 2 that I immediately knew this isn't for you. And, we, basically showed them the door. But for the most part, a brand new agent, their biggest fear is making a mistake and hurting the client. It isn't their commission. Over all those years, I've never really heard agents go, what do I get paid and how soon?
Right.
It's, they're most concerned about the client. And if they're not concerned about the client, they can't work here. No, sir.
Right. And if they're new and they don't have the knowledge, we still have a team here. And
Right.
they know, hey, what about this? They know who to ask.
Right.
We have a forum that you can ask a question, and the agents that are participating that are quality have some great responses, some great options, and everybody wants to do what's right for the client.
Yep. I feel like newer people spend more time with the client too.
Oh, there's no question.
Yeah, and as you get more seasoned and your book begins to grow, you start to form relationships and you start to just present in kind of a different way. A newer person is, textbook. They're going through everything, oftentimes overkill because they're so worried, but they are hungry to find a solution.
There's that aggressive.
Yeah, there we go. Hungry, aggressive,
Yeah.
same word. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they are to find that solution.
Yeah. Of course they want to do that. I've also find it interesting that, one of the things that has to be on almost every annual notice of change is, hey, if you can't figure this out on your own, then you can call like an OSHIP rep or call 1-800-Medicare, which you can. You can do that. And those people absolutely have nothing to gain, right? So before you put that decision in somebody's hands that has nothing to gain, you might want to consider somebody that does have something to gain. They will work harder. Go ahead and call Medicare.gov. Go through that process. They're not going to tell you if doctors are in or out a network. They're not going to give the same solutions. And your local volunteers, I've talked to some of the local volunteers that they hate the annual enrollment period. The OSHIP reps and all that, they're like, my gosh, we do our best to see people every 25 to 30 minutes. They're volunteers. They make no money. They are just like, let's let this season go by so I can get back to my life. Or you can go to somebody that's hungry, that has something to gain from it. Of course, they're going to find a solution. They're going to work hard to show you the value between different plans. So this notion of, well, I can't go see somebody that gets paid a commission is actually ridiculous when you think about it.
I agree.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're very agreeable. Thank you.
Good. That's good. What else?
I don't know.
Was there something else?
I don't know. I feel like we can only beat this horse so much. It is a good talk.
It's important. We've known each other since 2007. We've never talked about this kind of stuff the first week of July.
Oh, no, never. Yeah.
I mean, it's coming.
I've already written my business plan because I'm really concerned with how am I going to manage all of this disruption. And the disruption came as an angel of light of you're going to pay less for meds. That's like, some of the story.
It is.
Yeah, and that is true. You will. But somebody's going to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
And where will it be? So we'll know by October 1. We'll know exactly how disruptive it's going to be. So hopefully we'll prepare ourselves for it to help people.
Wonderful.
Yep. I think it's a wrap.
Done.
Let's go. Love doing this. It's fun.
Good.
Yeah.